Hello everyone and welcome back to the course. We're learning project finance structures that generate circular references. If you recall in the first video, we learned how to build the interest during construction structure. In the second one, we learned the debt sculpting, which is this one here that you can see on the screen. And today, we're going to learn how to model the debt service reserve account. But before we get started, please subscribe to the channel and give me a thumbs up if you learned anything from today's video. The debt service reserve account. What we're going to do here today is not to build a fully fledged debt reserve account. What we're going to do, we're going to go through the part of the debt service reserve account that generates the circular reference. The DSRA, or the debt service reserve account, is the most complex structure that you can create in project finance, and that deserves a full video on its own. The purpose of this video is just to create the part of the debt service reserve account that creates the circular reference. That's going to start building the DSRA sheet, and then we're going to explain what the DSRA is. We're going to create a new sheet, and we're going to create it out of the IDC to the second version of the IDC, which has no circular reference. So I'm going to copy this sheet by coming here with my mouse, pressing Ctrl and dragging the sheet to the right. We're going to create a copy, and I'm going to rename it to DSRA. Cool. So we have the structure here with all the correct anchoring that we're going to need for the video. Very good. Now I'm going to go back here to the debt sculpting. I'm going to select everything, and I'm going to copy it. Ctrl down. I'm going to change sheets. I'm going to select the row here, and I'm going to press Enter. One thing that I need to do now is just to anchor things properly. For sure, some of the anchoring is not working. So this is here. I'm going to just change it to a cell input because the depreciation is a input. This is our interest expense. Here we have the EBIT. Everything seems to be fine here. These two here, the capital adjustment and the working capital, the capital expenditures and the working capital adjustments are inputs. So we have here our CFADs. This is the DSCR, which is correct. This is wrong. We have to fix the max debt by changing the cell here. It should be the flag over here. I could have done it correctly already by properly anchoring in the previous video, but we did not, so that's fine. So here we have our inputs for the interest. Here we have to recalculate. Yeah, that's wrong in there. We just have to move this one here to the dates above here, and this one here to the dates above here, which is nice. Now copy and paste. Everything is good here. Here we have to change this one here. We have to move over to the end dates. Now copy and paste everything across. I think that's correct now. And for the data account, we have the opening balance, then we have the drawdowns. This one here is wrong, so we have to reference the cell over to the principal. Now we copy and paste things across, and everything seems to be correct here because we have 0. And now here we have the interest and the principal payment. Let me just check here. Yeah, everything is correct here. There's no circular reference because this is a hard code input number. That's it for now. So these numbers here are correct. They're the same. Cool. So everything looks good. So what we're going to do now, we're going to do one more thing. If you recall, like this is our construction phase and this is our operations. What we're going to do now, we're going to change the names. So I'm going to say this is the construction and this is the operation. And what I'm going to do, if you recall in the previous video, I told you that in this row here, what we're going to draw down, what we're going to transfer to this row here is the total debt that are going to accrue during the construction phase. So this number here is coming from here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to reference this number here, not as an input that has been calculated through the difference of this cell. If you recall, so we did just a go-seek function here to bring this number to 0 by changing the value of this cell in here. So I can redo it so you can see. I had something like this. So you're doing the go-seek function by pressing Alt A W G. So then we're going to bring this cell here or this one here, to 0. So I'm going to type 0 here by changing which cell? By changing this cell here. So that's what we're doing. So that's why it's a fixed number. It's an input to the model. And as you can see, everything works out. So we have the 0 at the end. We have the drawdown equals to the principal payment. And we have everything correctly here. Cool. So what we're going to do now, we're going to get this number here. We're going to say that this number here is going to be equals to the total debt that we have accrued during the construction phase, which is this number here. So we have the debt here, and we're going to say that's going to be equal to this one here. I'm going to press enter. So for now, there is no circular reference. But the first thing you're going to notice is that before we had, let me just press Ctrl Z here. So the maximum principal, the maximum that we can take is $3.375 million. But when you make this cell here equals to this one here, we're going to make it $4.6 million. And of course, we cannot take that much. The maximum we can take is the 3 million we had before. And as you can see here, there's a difference. So we're not being able to close our debt at the end of the tenure of this debt. So what we're going to do, we're going to do a goSeek function here again. I'm going to press Alt AWG. So we're going to bring this number here to 0. The question is, by changing which cell, we're going to be able to bring this number here to 0. There's not many inputs where we can change. We cannot change we're not going to change the DSCR because that's given by the banks. We're not going to change the depreciation or our EBITDA because that's our cash flows. That's not going to change. We're not going to change the interest in construction because that's given by the banks. And we're not going to change the investments because this is the investment we need for the project. So what we're going to change here is the total debt. So we're going to reduce the amount of debt that we can take so that we can match it against the maximum debt that we can take. I'm going to press OK here as I just select the cell. I'm going to press OK. And you're going to see that in order for us to be able to repay our debt according to our cash flow available for debt service, which is this row here, we had to reduce the total debt from 75 to 55%. That's good. So we're just connecting the two things because that's the way you should do it. Good. Let's gonna move on now. What is the debt service reserve account? I'm just gonna copy this one here and I'm gonna paste here. I'm gonna change it for DSRA. Debt service reserve account is again a self-explanatory name. It is a reserve account that you're gonna have to keep in your project just to repay the debt service if you ever fall short of the money to repay it, of the cash flow to repay it. Remember, if we're going to go here, this is how banks are going to sculpt your debt in a project finance structure. They basically guarantee that for every single period, the cash flow available to repay or to serve the debt is going to be higher than the debt that you have to service. But the banks will be more cautious and they're going to request you that on top of this, you create or you have this reserve account just to serve the debt in case the projected cash flow is below the debt service. So that's what it is. Let me write here the debt service reserve account. And banks are going to tell you how many months they want you to keep in the reserve. For now, what we're going to assume here, we're going to assume that we're going to have to keep 2 quarters. So we're going to reserve quarters. Let's go to be 2. So we're going to just have this as an input here. And that's it. So this is going to be 2 quarters that are going to have as a reserve. Reserve of what? Reserve of the debt service. Where's the debt service? The debt service that we're going to have is this one. So that's how much we're going to have to repay every single period. We have to keep 2 quarters worth in our reserve account of this value. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to add a row here. I'm just going to Control X, Control V here. So what is our max debt? That's going to be at USD. Let me just make it smaller. Cool. And we're going to say that this is going to be equal to this value here. And I also want to copy this one here, copy in here, and we're going to just copy and paste everything across. Nice. So we have here our max debt, and now we're going to calculate our debt service reserve account. So we need to have 2 quarters worth in the reserve for each one of the periods. So how that's going to work? We're going to go down here So essentially what the banks are telling us is that before the construction finished, on the 31st of December 2024, which is this date here, we should have what is going to be equal to the sum of these two values. And then we can copy and paste this across. And you can see the banks will demand from us for every single period that we always keep in this reserve account what is worth 2/4 of our debt service. So that's the numbers we have to have. And here should be nothing. But what we have here is almost like a hard-coded calculation. So we have to make this more flexible so that whenever we change this number here, let's say to 3, then everything is recalculated. And to do it, we're going to use the offset function. The offset function is a quite important function, but I really don't like to use it because it really slows down your financial model. But there's nothing you can do in this case here if you want to have it flexible. The offset basically, as it says here, it's reference to a range. And then you can reference it and you can do whatever you want with it. Let's say you have here reference. We're going to say we're going to reference here. We're going to say no rows. We don't need any rows, any columns. We want to have a height of 1 and a width of 3. Let's see what's going to return. Basically, what's returning here, it's returning these 3 values. So this one is here, sorry, this one is being returned here. So then what you can do now, you can just wrap a sum function around it. And then I'm going to sum all these 3 numbers. So let me just paste the format. So it's 1,060,000. So if we add these 3 numbers, we're going to have the 1,060,000. So that's what we're doing here. So let me just delete this. But what we're going to do now, so I think we have everything right except for the number 3. Now, what we have to have instead of this number 3, we're going to reference this number here. And we're going to press F4 to properly anchor it. And now we're going to copy and paste across. So what we have the same numbers as we were just calculating before. So I'm going to delete this one in here. And now if we change to number 3 here, we're going to have the sum of the 3 next periods. Cool. So let's go back to 2. That's pretty straightforward. You can also do lots of things with the offset. And again, the purpose of this is not to explain in details what the offset does. It's just to let you know that you need to use the offset so we can indirectly sum ranges that are referenced in some other part of the Excel file. Cool. That's it. Again, if you pay attention here, you can see that from one period to another, we have to increase or decrease the total DSRA in our account. We're not going to deal with this in this video because that's where the complexity of the DSRA is. What we're going to deal with is to understand how we're going to be able to get the $704,000 that we need at the construction phase and add it to the total project cost, because we need to come up with this $700,000 here as part of our total project cost. This is the same as the IDC. So we have to account for this number here as part of our total project cost. So what we're going to do, we're going to get this number here and we're going to go over here and we're going to add it here. Okay, so let me add here. I'm going to say that it's going to be the DSRA. Okay, it's going to be a USD. I'm going to clean this thing up here and I'm going to press Ctrl G. So the easier way to do it is just to say that it's going to be equals what? Equals this number, which is 0 for now. And I just want to add the flag. I just want to add this as long as we have a construction phase. When you copy and paste across, this circular reference comes in. I'm going to press enter. It is a huge circular reference, but the circular reference, we can break it here. So this is where we have to break it. Remember, this is the place where we just make that this value here should be equal to the total debt. And because the total debt now depends on the DSRA, there's this circular reference going out. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to delete this for now, and I'm going to just bring the DSR using a different method now. So what I'm going to say here, I'm going to say DSR funding needs at construction end. So that's what I'm going to have here. I'm going to copy here. So what I wanted to get is what is our DSR at the end of construction, because that's what it's needed here. We don't need to care about, if I copy and paste everything across here, we don't need to care about this value here. What we need to fund is the $704,000 at the end of our construction phase. So that's the number I want to grab. So how are we going to do it? We're going to say equals what? If what? If this, we have to do sum if actually. So sum if, what are we going to sum if? What is our sum range? Our sum range is going to be this one here. What is our criteria? Our criteria, oh, sorry, we're going to do a sum if. So sum if, this one here, what is the range? The range is going to be these dates. What is the criteria? This should be equals, so we have to put it into quotations, equals what? Then we're going to have to use this and sign here, equals to this one here. I'm going to press F4. Then we're going to have our sum range, which is this one here. I'm going to press F4 to anchor, and we're going to close it, and we're going to press enter. Cool. So we grab the right number. So I'm going to just do here, and I'm just formatting. But again, we just use the sum if formula. We're just going to anchor these numbers. So we're getting the range. This is the range that we're going to look after by making sure that this range here should be equals to this date. And if it's equals, we're going to sum if these values, because there's only one date that matches. So it's only catching this 704 here. Cool. Now I'm going to grab this number here. I'm going to press Ctrl C. And I'm going to go over here, and right here, I'm going to paste it by pressing Alt ES. And as you can see here, if I press L, I'm going to paste the link. So if you can see now, I paste the link. So I reference back to the DSR. We're looking back to the DSR funding needs at the end of the construction phase. Cool. So let's format this properly as a formula in sheet. And that's it. So now I'm going to throw this number in here. Okay. What we're going to do, we're going to say that if this date here, press F4 twice, is equals to this date here, I'm going to press F4 only once. Then we're going to use this number here, press F4 3 times, otherwise it's going to be 0. And sure enough, here's going to have we're going to have the circular reference. Why did I do like this? Because now I can break the circular reference right here. So I'm going to break it, and then the circular reference is going to go away. So that's why I did like this. Cool. What's next now? So now what we have to do, we have to break the circular reference, as I just did here, and we're going to start copy and paste exactly the same way we did before. So we come here, copy this number here, and we're going to paste here. So Alt ESV. So we have the number here, and now we change this value here. See, now the value is different, so it's less. So we're going to come over here. I'm going to press F4 because I still have the cell as copied. So I'm going to click here. I'm going to leave my cell here. I'm going to press F4. And I'm going to keep pressing F4 until I notice that the difference is 0, which should be there. So there we go. So now we have the numbers one equal to the other ones. But let's going to pay attention now what happened to our drawdowns. Now our drawdown is no longer 0. Let me just set this as a macro reference. So now our drawdown here is no longer 0. The difference between these two numbers here are not 0. So what I have to do, I have to make sure this number here now goes to 0. We have to reduce our total debt because now we're adding costs to our project. So now we have to reduce the total share of funds from the debt to equity. So what I have to do here, I have to come over here. I'm going to press Alt AWG. And I'm going to make sure that this number here goes to 0 by changing what? By changing the percentage here. And we're going to press OK. And there we go. So now it's 0 here. But now we have $700,000 in. And we have six or 700,000 here. So the numbers are different now. So I have to copy this number here. Or let me do a bit different. So let me say, I'm going to reference now this one here to here, which is good. So let me just going to reference here. And I'm going to calculate the difference. So this one here minus this one here. So now one thing we can do here now is to make sure that this number here goes to 0. So we're going to press Alt AWG. I'm going to press 0 by changing what? By changing this number here, correct? Or by changing this number here. We should change this one here because this is where the hard-coded number is. I'm going to press OK. And it went to 0. But now we have a difference here. So now I have to make this number here goes to 0. I think you got the point. So now we have two circular references, one from the DSRA and the other one from the Sculpting. And you would even have a third one if you were to use the IDC with the circular reference. If you were to be using these IDC. But actually it would be only twice because the circular reference that comes up from the IDC and from the DSRA are the same. So that would be the same. So we would have two circular references. So you have to run two macros every time you go through this process. So I'm gonna make this one here go to 0 again by using the go seek function of the Excel. I'm gonna go a bit quicker here. So let's go here. Okay. Now let's see how is our, now I have a 33 only, so I have to make this one go to 0 by changing this value. So I have to keep doing this until both circular references go to 0. So nice. And we go 0. So now we have the two references going to 0. So this is the point where we get to the final version of our model, where both circular reference have achieved 0. Let's check the model now. So let's see if the numbers make sense here. We do have a 0 close balance at the end of that tenor. We also have that the total drawdown for our debt is equal to total repayment with the opposite signs, which is good. Another very interesting thing in here is that the total principal, the total debt is equal to the NPV of our what? Of our debt service coverage ratio here, sorry, of our max debt. So that's pretty interesting. So when you calculate the NPV with this formula here, we achieve the same numbers as the ones. So this is it's pretty neat and it's correct. So that just to prove to you that the NPV of the cash flows is in fact the principal of our debt. So everything matches, and you can say confidently that your calculations are right. So that's it for today, folks. This is the DSRA. Again, this is not a fully fledged DSRA because you have to account for the cash increase for each one of the periods. As you can see here, you have to calculate the difference between one period and the other, and we're not doing this for now because that's quite complex. But the DSRA circular reference, that's how it comes up. And that's what we have to have in mind when we're modeling it. For the next video, we're going to just tie up a bit more these things together, and I'm going to make the macros work all together. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.